Hello, CSFL world. We are back. It's been a bit of hiatus, and we've been away since since the Super Bowl, I believe. A lot has changed in the league since then. We've had an entire off season with no discussion and no viewpoint shared on a podcast or a videocast. So here we are. We're back again. We've got some time back in the schedule. You've also got myself, Coach Fury, back here today, and I'm joined by I'm joined by a CSFL champion. I guess that is the new news for the start of today. Josh Drummer, a Titans GM, welcome back, CSFL champion. Does it feel nice to have that associated with you on the podcast, Videocast now?
Yeah, I get to look forward to a long career after I'm retired from being a GM as a podcast pundit. And forever under my name, it will say 2012 Super Bowl champion. So that does feel good.
Yeah, and when we get to the point, we've talked about it before. When we get to the point of Hall of Fame discussion, winning a CSFL championship certainly is going to help your case in that sense. The road is only up for you, I think. Yeah, it's great to have you back on. And has it sunk in yet that you are a champion, or are you still not quite got over last season yet?
Oh man, I mean, it sunk in when it happened. I'm already past that. I'm lamenting the fact that in my personal history, as I've watched professional football, typically the team that wins the Super Bowl gets a soft schedule the next year, and I did not get that. So that's my present concern.
There's definitely no soft schedule for the victor in the CSFL. In fact, I'd probably even argue you have a harder schedule now. So
last I checked, I think I might have the highest strength of schedule.
I haven't done the working out for it yet, but I'll take your word for it. And you've got to make it a challenge. You can't just come back to back like the Saints into Super Bowls. We can't have that happening again.
Hey, Ross is over there killing it again, 133 points per game. But we're going to get to that part of the conversation in a bit when we talk about our.
We certainly are. And for the viewers who are watching in, I guess today we're going to do a little bit of a twist. So we're going to today have a little bit of a chat between us to basically look at it in terms of the sense of, well, what 5 teams will we buy in terms of stock positions, or in terms of value right now, in terms of the first 3 games have happened this season, and then what teams would we probably be looking at shorting or selling, really anticipating either a decline from their position, or the only way is there's a lot of factors that are indicating that this team probably might be dropping down in terms of where they sit in the standings at the moment. So the aim today is to talk about both of those 2 things, and for us to get to a top 3 in both. We had a little bit of chat, didn't we, before we came on, Josh? And we've got completely different views for this. This is certainly going to be interesting. So
we definitely overlap on a few things when you look at like our expanded list, but our top 5s are just wildly different.
Yeah. So we'll try and delve into that detail and try and understand why we are so different, and see if we get a consensus. So should we start with the 5 teams, or the teams that we've got? We listed 5 teams to begin with, and we'll get to a top 3. But should we start with the teams that we were we're buying high on, that we're think they're going to have a great season, or that they're performing badly at the moment, but we expect them to bounce back up into possibly playoff conversation, wildcard conversation by the end of the season. So I guess who have you got on your list to begin with, really?
All right, so I've got I'm just going to roll through all 5, and then we can talk about whichever one you want to. So I got the Lions, the Saints, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Ravens.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I tell you what. So I'll give you my list, and then I'll say why I haven't got some of your guys that you've listed there. So my list I've only got really 4, and maybe a 5th one. I mean, I think we can agree on the Ravens. That's kind of my fifth ball.
The Ravens were my possible. They were my number 5. I'm just not sure if their GM's still got a firm grasp of the game yet. But he didn't grow up watching football, so I'm sure it's been a bit of a learning curve for him.
Yeah, and I mean when we look at the actual performance of the Ravens so far, they've beat the Raiders, they've beat the Vikings, they've lost to the Steelers, which is a game that you could argue they probably would expect to be, 50-50 win or loss.
Yep.
So, in terms of their schedule so far, they are sitting 2-1, top of the division. And yeah, they're kind of performing as you would expect. And whilst they're 2-1, you can look at that and go, they've already lost a game. That's not good for their prospects for the playoffs. I think the positive thing is that they haven't had Adrian Peterson yet, the star running back that they signed in the offseason. Yep. And they're on. I think they're on an upward trajectory. I think certainly agree with you on that. So I think we can probably pencil in the Ravens as one of our top three now, because I think that's one that we agree on. I mean, in terms of your other guys, I haven't got the Lions on there. Obviously, I haven't got, because that's my team. I haven't got well, I haven't got the Saints, the Pats, or the Broncos, because to me they're just two easy choices. For me, if I was looking at them in terms of their value now, their value is going to be at its peak anyway. Because look at the Patriots; they've not, none of those three teams have lost a game yet, and they've won all three games pretty convincingly. So to me, I haven't put them on there because the only way is down for them. Really, they're top of their divisions. They're 3-0, performing really well. So that's why I have. Yeah, that's why I haven't got them.
I don't see the Patriots losing a game this season. That schedule is beautiful, but we'll talk about that, I guess.
Yeah, let's come back to that one. So I'll give you my other four that I had down, and we can perhaps come back to the Patriots and then look at the guys I've got. So, I mean, I've got my four are the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Browns, and the Falcons. Four teams that I think are sort of, if you look at their current performance, it's either okay, they actually look like they're going to be a justifiably good team so far, or teams that I've got that are sort of probably underperforming at the moment, but I would expect them by the end of the season to be in a better position. So that's where I've got. So I mean, I think we've agreed with the Ravens. Let's go back to the ones that you said. So the Broncos, the Pats, the Saints, and the Lions. So I think the Saints are too obvious to me. I think they're dominating everything, and they just seriously don't look like they're going to lose a game, like you said. But the Patriots, you said you don't think they're going to lose a game because of their schedule. So do you want to just talk us through that?
Yeah. So taking a look at the Patriots schedule, which is probably a bit of a bold assertion, because Rizzo will be the first to say that he had to work a lot on his playbook in the offseason. But I mean, just looking at they've got the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Bills,
Redskins,
the Bills again. All of those games are to me they're heavily favored in, and worst comes to worst, they're gonna they'll split their series with the Jets, and they may lose to the Broncos. 2 losses at most is what I see there, and I could very well see them going undefeated, because I mean, that Brady trade, they were already the most talented team on paper in the league, and that Brady trade brought in talent and picks, and they didn't lose anything. So, if anything, he improved the roster that made it to the Super Bowl in the first season.
I mean, we've been saying for a while, haven't we? I swear it's every single episode we've said this about the Patriots, that team is the most talented team in this league, and it still is by a country mile.
And it's by a long shot.
And if when we've sort of been waiting for the moment that Rizzo starts to get a handle on the playbook and starts to understand how an offensive works and a defense works, because then they're just going to blitz competition.
I agree with you, and I would not be surprised to see a repeat of Super Bowl I. I think that his biggest competition is probably the Broncos and the Browns, just because they're just superior game planners.
Experienced veteran GMs, absolutely. Okay. I can see the Patriots. I'm not quite convinced for me to put them in the top 3 yet. Do you want to just talk about the other ones? So, I mean, for me, do you agree that the Saints are too obvious to put in this? I mean, if I was looking at them in terms of stock, they're going to be Apple shares versus, I don't know, let's think at the moment in terms of like JP Morgan shares at the moment, for example.
I think you're underselling them. That's some Amazon stock over there, man.
Okay, okay,
You
that's
know,
some Amazon stock. Okay,
no, that's gonna be the first team hitting 5,000 a share.
Look, I mean, when you look at the Saints, I'm looking at them going, well, that cost is way too much. If I was buying on that, I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be, you know, the odds on them winning the Super Bowl at this point are probably going to be negative odds. I mean, that's the extent of what we've seen out of the first 3 games. So I'm not convinced. I think we should take them off of the list.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it at a gambling standpoint, then like, yeah, obviously, I probably would not, drop a bet on them unless it was, a hefty one, as a sure thing. But
okay.
yeah. So I could agree with that.
All right, go on then. Go on. So sell me on the Broncos and sell me on the Lions. You're not going to convince me on the Lions, but sell me on the Broncos.
I mean, the Lions, your defense is just superior, and I think that having a defense that can keep you in the red zone and even score will do you guys well. That I might take some flack for this, but the NFC is just extremely top heavy, man. Like there's 3 teams over there that are just murdering that conference. So that I think that really helps your case. And now as for the Broncos, again, like Oppenheimer just really knows the workings of the game, and so he like Rouse. I would say he's he and V Gorilla are the AFC's version of Rouse. They just know they know the ins and outs of the game, so they're gonna always be in the mix, even with less talented rosters. And what should frighten the rest of the league is wait till their roster talent finally catches up. They're ripping off 10-win seasons with upper 70, lower 80 rated players. And we all make a big thing about overall not really being the end all be all, but it kind of does give you like a good, I guess, macro view, if you will.
Yeah, it gives you a rough feel of, I guess, of the talent on the team, I guess is what I would say overall does. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Broncos, yeah, I agree. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the first time we've seen a team win a game with the other team not scoring in this league?
With the other team not scoring in this league?
Not scoring a single point. Have we seen that before? Because I honestly can't remember. So I think it was the
I believe there was a few shutouts last year.
Okay. It's just the first time I looked at it and I was like, oh, blimey, and it was like convincingly, like the other team didn't even look like they were going to score.
Yeah, 22-0. No, that has to be an extremely good feeling. I remember, last year a few times I held teams to 3 points and I'm just like,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, okay. Pats Broncos, kind of getting it. Let me just throw some of mine at you then and see what you think. So the reason I've got the Steelers, so the Steelers are 1 and 2 at the moment. Yeah. They're muddling along, but the talent of that team is probably, I mean, if we say the Patriots are completely up on top, on top of the pyramid, to me, the Steelers are sort of in there with the Saints and you could probably argue the Broncos and with these kinds of teams in sort of that middle sort of elite tier, I would say. But if you look at the games they've played, okay, so they've had to 3 games have been against the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Lions. Obviously, Lions 3-0, Chiefs 3-0, Ravens are 2-1. So they've come out of that 1 and 2, but they've played 3 really good teams. And if I look at the schedule they've got coming up, they've got the Colts, the Jags, the Texans before they come back to the Browns. So those are 3 winnable games in my opinion for the Steelers team. So that's why I'm kind of high on them, because they should be competing for that top of the American North, in my opinion, based on the talent they've got.
See, I'm gonna have to disagree on that. I think that they're for 2 reasons. Their defense, to me, specifically lost a lot of speed over the offseason. And they went from being a very large, fast defense to just being kind of a bit of a perimeter oriented defense, I want to say. And I don't think that that's gonna work as well for them this year. Like losing Harrison, like that, him getting old and leaving was like a massive blow. That I think that for a while there, them and the Ravens might have had the best linebacking core. But my other thing is I just really don't like their offensive line. I think they've got two good offensive linemen, like two that I would, mm, yeah, two that I would take over my own offensive line, maybe Pouncey for sure,
Okay.
and Adams, and
Okay, I can't convince
that's
you on
about.
the Steelers. I can't convince the Steelers. You are stuck in there, and I can see what you're saying. The defense has made a step backwards. I just think offensively they're still just as good. But okay,
Yeah, I think they can put. I think they'll put up a ton of points, but I think
yeah,
Roethlisberger, kind of like real life, he'll get hit a lot,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right, then let me go to my other three really, and give you a 2 minute narrative on them. So, uh, I've got the Jaguars. Jaguars are 3-0. For me, last season they made a really good step forward, and they were a really good defensive team. And for me, I think they've made the step up this year because they've added some offensive weapons. So, they've added the likes of Gore, Tomlinson. Little I think may have already been there actually, but they've added some offensive weapons now to actually give Griffin a chance on offense. Whereas last year when I looked at them, they were a very defensive heavy team, but they were not scoring many points. And in terms of the teams they've played, yes, they've only played the Buccaneers, the Colts, and the Bills, who are all losing records. And the real test is going to come week 5 when they play the Steelers. But for me, looking at the division they're in, Colts, yourself, will come to you later. Trust me on that one. And the Texans. For me, that is a winnable division for them, mainly because of your strength of schedule, and their schedule is not as bad as yours. To me, 3-0 is Jaguars are performing where they should be based on what they've added over the offseason. Take the Browns. The Browns we've talked about, but I mean, it's a very, very experienced GM there. They've lost to the Broncos. They lost a weird one to the Bengals, which is probably unexpected. But 1-2 is probably not reflective of the actual capability of this team because of the GM. And then my final one is the Falcons. They added Tom Brady in the offseason. They've got offensive weapons in Johnson, in Cruz, in Olsen that they've brought in. So, this team should be performing better than it is. They've lost the Eagles and the Buccaneers, though. That's my only worrying sign there. But I expect this team, once the playbook is refined and the strategy is refined, for them to at least be in the wild card slot this year in the National League.
Okay, I can see them making the wild card, but I think that they're I think they're overperforming.
Overperforming at 1-2.
Yep, I think the Jaguars.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were still talking about the Jaguars.
Okay. No. We are on to. I talked about all of them, but yeah, let's come back to the Jaguars.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll go through the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah. Go on.
So starting with the Jaguars, I think that for the similar reasons that I said for the Steelers, their defense they got some heavy hitters strength wise. Like they didn't lose anyone there, but their speed, like they lost a ton of speed on their defense. Like I think they have one player on their 3 players on their entire defense with a speed over 80. And that's not the norm for some of the heavy hitting teams in the league. So they are a really good defensive team. So maybe that's just a way of building that I haven't considered as much, and that if you go with heavy strength, that maybe you just generate more fumbles and things like that. So that could work for them. As for the offense, I mean they barely put up 16 points on the Colts, and I think the Colts might have one of the worst defenses, versus like how good their offense is in our whole league. Like,
yeah, I mean, okay, but they put up 44 points against the Bills, who are down there as well. And they were a 0-16 team last year. They've made some steps forwards, but the Bills are still struggling talent wise. So is that a case of for me that shows signs that the Jaguars are developing their playbook?
Yeah, and that Griffin might take a step, so when that's something we haven't accounted for. I haven't delved as deep into their stats, but I just they're gonna get they're gonna get a prime time win sooner or later, and that will kind of let us know exactly where they are. And I think I kind of agree with you that week 5 will be the first time they get tested. I think I said that in the Slack channel too.
Yeah.
But they have a nice little run there where they play the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Texans.
Yeah, those 3 games are a really good assessment. I agree with you.
And I want to see them play a team that has elite speed on offense and see how that matches up to them.
So maybe I see what you're saying. Maybe it's too early to judge the Jaguars yet, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Let's see your other ones. I apologize.
Okay,
What was?
so go on in. So let's talk about the Falcons, and then we'll come back to the Browns.
That was
so the
other one,
Falcons was the next one that I think we were homing in on here. So I was obviously saying that once this team gets the playbook together on offense, they've got enough weapons. Defensively, they're average enough, in my opinion.
I really like the Falcons. I completely agree with you.
I think it's just, for me, it's just roster management, gameplay management that they need.
Yep. I don't know what to suggest, but I feel like they have all the pieces to make a really good run. They've got a lot of their team speed is pretty high. Their overall strength on their team is average is pretty high, and they've got an elite quarterback. They've got Tom Brady.
They have an elite player at every position, pretty much. I mean, the only thing I could argue is probably saying that their offensive line is not particularly great.
Yeah, that's that seems to be a theme for the teams that are underperforming, that are considered elite. I think I'm the exception, but I think I agree. I think that's their only flaw, is their offensive line, and I don't really see much they could do about that immediately, because I mean, their entire offensive line doesn't have a single person who blocks over. Actually, wait, okay, Veld here, one of their tackles does, but no one else has over 80 pass or run block.
So I think what the thing that I think holds the Falcons back is not really their own problem. Well, it's more the fact they're in the same division as the Saints.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take the Saints out of that division, that's a winnable division for either the Panthers or the Falcons, in my opinion, at the moment.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room right there.
It is. So okay. So I think I've managed to convince you a little bit on the Falcons here. I think I've sold you a little bit.
Yeah, you didn't have to work hard on that one. I like their roster. I like their roster, and I like what they did in the offseason. I'm hoping they get all the pieces together, because I love to see that NFC become more competitive, because that would help my AFC as well.
Yeah. So okay then. All right. The Browns. Do you want to just give you a quick view on the Browns then? What we were saying.
He's a part of the trio of the most knowledgeable GMs in the league, and I'm just not going to sell against him until I see him have a losing season. He's just steadily adding talent every season, and I think that he has a system, and he knows what to expect from players, whereas some of us are still kind of like a little iffy on that. So I think that Bengals win was very similar to that Bengals loss is very similar to my loss to the Jets. I went and actually watched the game, and they should have won that game.
Oh yeah, so, statistically they were the better team.
Yeah,
they just had an off day. Whatever reason in the red zone, they had an off day. And Sherman just had Sherman had an insane game, by the way, just to throw that out there for the Bengals, because
what was it? 12 tackles, an interception, and
a defensive touchdown.
Yeah. I want to say Byron Maxwell in the same week had a 5-tackle interception defensive touchdown game as well.
Yeah, not as good as Sherman.
Same draft class, going back and forth. I like it.
Okay.
Those are the kind of rivalries that I really love in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
When guys are from the same draft class and they play the same position, and they're like, "No, I'm the best. I'm the best."
Yeah,
good stuff there.
It's great to see that they're performing pretty well already. Okay, all right. So how about this then? We've said the Ravens are in the top 3. We've kind of both agreed on that. You sold me on them, but how about this then? So I'm gonna pick between the Pats and the Broncos for one slot, and you pick between the Browns and the Falcons for the other.
Okay.
So you can go first. Which one are you taking? You taking the Cleveland Browns or the Atlanta Falcons?
Cleveland Browns.
And
that's reason? Completely the confidence in their GM.
Yeah.
No offense to the Falcons GM, but Big Gorilla actually, I won't say actually knows, but he knows what he's doing. And if he has a losing season, I'm just gonna say it's because he wanted luck.
Okay, I'm gonna go the other way for the same reason, really. So I'm gonna say the New England Patriots, because for me, the Broncos are doing what I would expect the Broncos to do. They did the exact same thing last year. They were a top team, had some talent, had the right strategy in place. it's too easy to pick the Broncos. I'm gonna give Rizzo a shout out and go with the Patriots because he's finally figured out how to get the best team in the league to work.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go with the Patriots. So I think
yeah. I really think he has. I think he's figured it out. So
So
team
I'm
to
gonna,
watch.
yeah, our three are the three teams that we're selling high on. Oh, sorry, buying high on, not selling high on. Buying high on are the Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. Surprisingly, both teams in the same division, and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. So on the other side of the coin, we've got teams that we are selling on. That we're flogging the stock. We don't want to go down to a penny a share situation. So or a center situation, center share situation in America. So let's have a look. What's your list? Who have you got?
Okay, so I'll start with the shockers first. I'm gonna say the Chiefs, and my next one was the Vikings. Um, as I told you, I was really hesitant to I want to put the Jaguars on this list, but I feel like that would just be a death knell for me. So I'm just going to continue to ignore that over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Giants. And I think my last one was the Steelers. I'm selling on them. I think they have one of the best quarterbacks, and just that defense kind of worries me. So that was my list.
Yeah.
How are you doing over there?
Well, we're agreed on one. I've also got the New York Giants down on my list, and we'll talk about them in a sec because if we agreed on them, I think we'll have the same viewpoint. So the other guys that I've got down on mine are the Philadelphia Eagles, the Houston Texans, the Tennessee Titans. So that's going to be interesting to have a chat with you about that one. The Indianapolis Colts, and then that's my four. So should we talk about the Giants first? Because we're agreed on that one. I think we can comfortably put them in a sell position if we've both agreed.
Yeah.
What's your reasoning?
My reasoning is similar to some of the I'm consistent. It's for the same reasons that I didn't like some of the other teams. I think that defense is just not up to par. I think that they may have one of the slowest linebacking cores of any team with a winning record right now. I don't think that any of them are really heavy hitters. They don't have a ton of turnover creating players. I mean, they have Tuck and Umanora at the defensive end, but I feel like the rest of the guys are just solid, okay, dudes. So they really have to lean on real life, like Eli, dropping at least 3 touchdowns a game to be competitive, I feel.
Yeah, and exactly my reasoning as well. It's the defense. So the fact, if I look at the offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, they're comfortably, in my opinion, going to put up 24 plus points a game, pretty much, as what I'd expect, because they've got talent in all the areas of the field where you need that. The offensive line is good, but it's the defense that worries me. Like you said, just up front on the defensive line, they're okay. They're pretty solid, and they've got some 2 really good edge players in Tuck and Umeniora, if that's how you say it. But it's behind that really worries me. That linebacking core is not great, which you can kind of normally get away with if you have good cornerbacks and you have some good safeties in there to just mix and mash it up, and they don't, in my opinion. So that really worries me about this team. And then I look at the schedule they've got. In terms of teams they've still got to play, the Cardinals are not a pushover. The Patriots, the Cowboys twice, who are talented, and the 49ers have actually been surprisingly okay, even though they're allegedly tanking. So, not allegedly tanking. I mean, they lost a lot of talent in the offseason, so they're going to be down there. And the Bears, hopefully by week 10, should get it together because that team's better than it's showing. So, for me, I think that they could end up, they're 2-1 at the minute. They're top of their division, but I could easily see them dropping down to 6 and 10 by the end of the season.
Yeah, me too. And like you said, their schedule isn't exactly easy. It has potential, but it's not.
Yeah.
I just with their defense, I just really don't know if I can if you can trust them to win the games that should be solid wins.
A lot of their games are going to be completely open offensive games because the teams they're playing, the ones that I expect them to lose against are teams that have really, really good offenses. But
Yeah.
they might not have the best defense. Like, for example, the 49ers, why I said they were surprising is that offensively they look really good this year. Defensively, they don't look that good. They probably look slightly better than the Giants, in my opinion, at the moment. So, some of these games are going to be complete shootouts. The Bears should have a good defense, and their offense is not too bad. Cowboys, the same. But...
Well, I mean, it's good that you mentioned the 49ers, and that's a good example of how it's still a little early in the season to figure these things out, because, they had that one game where Christian Ponder went nuts, and, so, like, that's kind of, altering their stats a little bit right now. But
yeah, okay. So we're agreed on the Giants. So the other teams you said you had down, so I think we can take the Steelers out, because I think if I had them as a buy and you had them as a sell, we can't agree on that. Nope. Even no matter what we say between each other, we're not going to agree on that one. So you had the Vikings and the Chiefs down as your other two. Vikings are 2-1. They're doing okay. The Chiefs are 3-0. What's the problem with both of these teams?
The Vikings, I just don't think are a terribly talented team. I think they're just a solid, run of the mill, right down the middle team. Like, they put it all together. Maybe they can make a good run, and they've got a few key players in important positions, but they don't strike me as anything special, and I refuse to stand for a team that has Mark Sanchez as their starting quarterback. There's that.
Slightly biased there, in my opinion, the Mark Sanchez quote. I mean, I guess if you look at it constructively, one of the things that I said on the chat in the week was that I'm really happy that the Vikings are showing some signs of moving forward after the two difficult seasons they've had.
Yeah, I think they are. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, being a solid team is not an insult. I think that. I think last year we were a solid team that didn't really have any weaknesses, and that's why we made the run that we went on. So don't please by no stretch take that as not a compliment. Being solid is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think they've got some good talent now. You're starting to see signs of it becoming quite a deep team, actually. With the drafts that they make, they're making good selections in the draft. So. Yeah, I can see why you're saying sell, because they're 2-1. I
just don't think they can sustain that. I think a 500 season, maybe a game or two above 500. Would be. I think.
Let's park it. Let's park that one for a minute. I think. Let me have a think on that one whilst we talk about some other teams. So, okay, the other team you had down was the Kansas City Chiefs. So 3-0. So, what's the problem? They beat the Steelers. I mean, they're a solid team. They beat the 49ers we talked about. I mean, why are you selling it on a 3-0 team? Is my question.
Same reasons as I said for the Vikings. They're solid. I don't think they're spectacular at any one thing. I think that defense has the beginnings of being a really great defense. I'm looking at a lot of the players they have seem to be young, and they seem to be slowly building up a lot of really fast and agile players. So I think that's might have something to do with why they're winning these games. And their offensive line has the pieces to be solid as long as you're splitting things by formations, because they have some guys who are really great run blockers and some guys who are really great pass blockers. So I'm wondering if the Chiefs GM has just learned how to game plan. I don't really know anything about him, so maybe he already did. But I think that they're going to have a solid season, probably around 500. I really like Pat Devlin. He's a guy that I actually wanted to draft last year in the 7th round, and I didn't get a chance to submit that, so I missed out on that, and I deeply regret that, because my one coach who is great at recommending players, that was the one that he suggested, and he's hit 2 years in a row. So Devlin's going to be a player that I kind of keep my eye on for probably for the duration of his career, because he should have been my backup quarterback.
Well, he was really unlucky not to win the Rookie of the Year last year either.
I voted for him.
I voted for him as well. I voted for him. I see what you're saying. Probably too early for the Chiefs. They're 3-0 is
Yeah,
probably a little bit too high from where they are. So I
but
can give you that.
but in week
Yeah.
5, if they beat the Patriots, then I'll come on here, I'll eat some
Oh, yeah.
crow, and
Look, I expect them to beat the Bills this week, so go
oh
4-0, and then Patriots is the big challenge. But yeah, okay, I can give you that one. I think the thing that worries me about the Chiefs is that when you look at their safety positions, they've got Flowers, who they're paying 15 million to, and I think it's Carr, who they're paying 13. So 28 million of their salary is going on safeties.
yeah.
So to me, I think that's going to slightly hinder them in the coming years, which could be an issue. But yeah, okay, I give you that one. You've sold me on the Chiefs. It's
Yeah, well, I
they're
will
certainly
say,
looking good.
I
I'd
will say
probably
I will say one thing to counter that you just said though. If you go and look at their salaries, they are it's sitting at about 129 million,
yeah.
and they aren't losing a lot of you know really good players. Like
No, I mean
so
they've drafted a lot of them, so
yeah,
they're
so
lucky that
they
they've
have
got
a
for extended period.
they have a lot another solid draft, and get a few free agents really cheap, and they could just keep right on trucking. I don't think that you know having that that much wrapped up in two players, as long as you're doing it right, isn't necessarily a bad thing, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
you could
yeah,
still field close to a 50-player roster if you're doing it right.
yeah. I mean, my worry comes around year 3, which is when they have
Yeah,
Devlin
yeah,
coming off his salary.
yeah. 24.
Do they pass the reins over to Foyles, or do they bring someone in? Do they pay Devlin? That's where I
Yeah,
am worried for
2014
them.
is going to be an interesting year for them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. You've convinced me. Chiefs, you're going down. Unfortunately, you've had a great start, but you're probably not up there with the elite yet. But you've done really well on your schedule so far in your first 3 games. Okay. So shall I talk about my teams then that I've got? So I'm going to start with the Titans first, because why not? You're CSFL champion. Why am I selling on the Titans? And the reason comes to what you said at the beginning of the episode. Your strength of schedule is awful. It's really
Yeah,
bad. I was looking at it. I mean, I just said I didn't do the numbers on it, but I mean, look at the teams you've got to play. You've got to play the Browns, the Ravens, the Broncos. You know, the Panthers are no pushover now. Steelers, like we talked about, their offensive is good. You've got a really strong strength of schedule. And then I look at it, and one of the things that worries me, and I think we may have talked about it in the chat earlier this week, is around this man here. And we've talked to him to death on the episodes, because first couple of episodes we were saying, how do you get the best out of him? Do you even trade him? And you mentioned you almost did move him in the end.
hmm
But for me, the worrying thing is unfortunately it's not an issue that you've caused. It's an issue that the game's caused, which is where you can't stack tags in this version of the of Draft Day Sports Pro Football. And to me, because you can't stack the tags, and because he's lost his scrambling ability, and he's now, I think it's like a legend, isn't it, or something?
yeah.
Which I think essentially means that he'll play maybe possibly longer than he is.
I think
From what
I think it boosts your passing just a little bit.
yeah, which is great if the quarterback is a pocket quarterback.
Yep.
Vince Young is not a pocket quarterback, and
Nope.
you know that. So to me, that's my worrying thing, is that your biggest asset from last year, the guy who was MVP, has lost the biggest thing that is his asset. And to me, that takes the Titans, in my opinion, from a team that's championship contending to just a playoff team. And to me, that's why I'm selling, because you're 1 and 2, you've got a strong strength of schedule. I could easily see if you get it figured out, you end up being fine, because you've managed to work out the playbooks and the strategy for your team. But I can easily see your team going 0.500, which is a drastic shift in position, which is why I'm selling
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah, and I don't like being in the position to have to argue against this, but because I kind of agree. But here we go. So the Jets game, watching that game really frustrated me. Going in the off season, one of the things I really wanted was a new kicker, and I actually the kicker I wanted went to another team for less than I offered him. And Baronis has not had the greatest start to the season, which is really weird, because he didn't regress at all. But in that game, he missed a field goal, he missed the extra point. One of his kicks got returned, and we missed a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
and we still managed to hold them to only 15 points. So like that gave me hope because I spent probably 2 nights straight redoing a lot of my defense and
Hmm.
going around the and looking at other leagues and what people have written and trying to just educate myself more on my down tendencies. And
Hmm.
so I kind of I think I've kind of stopped a little bit of what happened in that loss against the. Because it's really funny. I played my backups, but I went and watched that Saints game, and I noticed that a lot of the times we were in the red zone. My starters were in the game, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I addressed
Mm.
that. Um, Going to the Vince Young stuff, yeah, that's really frustrating. And I know it's kind of true because I've been following Vic, who's the only other player I noticed that had the dual threat tag,
Yeah.
and he is having a app, and he converted to a legend as well,
Yeah.
and he is having a horrible season too. And
He is. Yeah.
both he and Vince were already on. Even though I started off the season like I want to say 3-4 or 3-3 last year, Vince was already on an MVP pace even with
Mm.
those losses.
Yeah.
So that's worrisome.
Yeah.
What gives me hope is I did the same thing I did last year. I sat down and did a marathon run of watching games and writing down plays and seeing what's worked and looking at trying to figure out what's changed in my offense. And I think that I've kind of got an idea of what I need to, of what I might need to do.
Mm.
But yeah, watching those games and watching Vince, not like he still runs the ball. I think he had 6 attempts in the last game, but he doesn't do the whole scrambling out the pocket, running down running down, then throw a pass at the last second, that kind of stuff that I
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
observing last year. And when I've looked at the Eagles games, kind of the same thing from Victor. Like if they run, they run, but they don't really
Mm.
leave the pocket anymore. So this might be the first week I experiment with the often button. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
But
I
I
guess.
really do. But to argue for the why, I don't think you should
Mm.
sell on us. I think I can win my division.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, it's fine.
I think
It was an interesting one I threw in there. In my opinion, but I guess the positive is that I did share that feedback along with some other feedback to Wolverine Studios for the next version, and I think they have considered that into the build for the next version.
yeah. No,
Um,
and
so
not to whine or anything, but it's just it's a little
it's frustrating, isn't it?
it's
It's very
frustrating
frustrating.
because I had a Super Bowl MVP quarterback
Who's yeah,
who was rewarded by becoming a legend, but
yeah, yeah,
that wasn't really a reward. So
yeah,
if we can
yeah,
revert that back, I'm here for it.
yeah. I don't know if we can. I don't think we can.
Yeah,
Not that I'm aware of.
it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair. I
Uh,
wouldn't answer that.
no. Anyway, so okay, so we won't put the Titans on there. I'm not that harsh. I just wanted to throw that one out there to you. So the other teams that I've got, I mean, for me, the Texans are probably because the GM has gone AWOL. I don't think that's necessarily fair to sell on them. That's why I've kind of got them though, because they're 0-3 and they were allegedly going to be a playoff team this year, but
Yeah,
I think because the GM's left, it's gone AWOL. That's kind of lost that one.
yeah.
I mean,
I hope he's doing well.
yeah, yeah.
I would have still sold on them personally.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully nothing has happened, but yeah. It happens in an online league. It's
Yep.
not new. So the other two that I've got, one that you've talked about pretty much because of the reasons of the Titans as well, is the Philadelphia Eagles, and because of that man, Mr. Vick, basically having that tag. So I don't think that's probably fair to put them down if I was talking about them and selling them as the final third slot. So for
Yeah.
me, the only one we're considering, I think, is the Vikings against the Colts. And the reason I've got the Colts down is just because of that defense is so bad. I can't see how they're going to win many games.
Yeah,
Um,
that really worried me in the offseason when I saw a lot of the moves. And I he's also in our college league, so he's not I don't want to seem like I'm denigrating
no,
his GM
he's an
skills at all.
experienced GM. He's an
Very good
experienced
GM.
GM. Yeah.
But I was just knowing what I know about the about how much speed impacts this engine from what we've learned, and
Mm,
it seemed like every player he was sending away was his 80 speed players, or the ones that were he was swapping for similar but slightly lesser talent to try to. I'm not sure. I think he was trying to balance the books or whatnot. But I was just very very surprised to see him kind of go the route of the Colts in real life. He just was we're gonna win on the arm of Manning and get him as much talent as we can get him, and if the on the defense we'll just draft there and just let it be what it is. And I just that's the learning curve, I think, of coming into a new league. He didn't know the baseline averages for some of the talent and the ratings and the things like that. So that hurt him. And in addition to that, I don't know if you noticed, because I try to watch for these things because I have to. He's in my division. Manning regressed this offseason. His
He did.
arm took a huge hit. I think he might have lost like 8 points in his arm, and his offensive line took a drastic turn for the worse as well. They lost some of their heavy hitters, so their defense got worse. Manning regressed, and he's getting hit more. So this quite literally looks like the way the Colts ended his career in real life. So
it's worrying. I think the GM Jed is well aware that this is probably the last roll of the dice for the Colts, and it was in real life in this season. I mean, wasn't it? It was the last. Let's just throw everything in there with Manning and just see if we can get something to happen and materialize, which can work out. We've seen it work out. I think for the Colts to be effective, they need to find a way to get that defense from being a bottom floor defense to being at least in the mid tier. If they can get it in the mid tier, the offense is far good enough to carry them. But
even with the sacks Manning's accumulating, they're still putting up numbers. But go look at their offense. Go look at their offensive line, man. Jeff Saturday is probably their only good offensive lineman. They have another guy. They have some guys who are really strong, but their blocking, their actual blocking skills aren't very good.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, I guess that's the balance, is that they've got the guys at wide receiver, they've got the guys at running back, that they can just, if it's quick movements, short movements, Manning is comfortably good enough. He's got the intelligence to read the defense to do that.
I mean, wait till they play. Do you guys play them this year, man? Your defensive ends and your defensive line might. Okay, but just I'm thinking about some of the other teams they match up against. That defensive line with defensive lines would just crush them.
Yeah, well, I mean, against you guys will be interesting in week 15. Because the Colts may if they get it right, may be around a wild card hunt at that point. And you may need that one win to secure your division, possibly, or even week 9. Actually, they're on the road to you in week 9. That'll be an interesting game.
That's actually how I beat them last year. Was I noticed that their offensive line was already starting to look a little iffy. So just pounded the rock on them, if I remember.
So that's kind of why I've got the Colts there. So I think that we're kind of between the Vikings and the Colts. I have no preference either way as to whether we put the Colts or the Vikings down for the final team that we're going to sell. I am going to leave that completely in your power as the champion of the CSFL. So the guy who's won it all. Which team are you putting down there?
Can we do A and B?
No, you have to pick one. You're a champion. You have to be ruthless. You're a champion.
Have to be ruthless. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Colts because I can't stand that team in real life. That's a division rival.
So the only reason you're picking the Colts is a divisional rival. Okay.
Oh no, not the only reason. That defense that defense is bad.
Okay.
So
cool. So we've got the New York Giants, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Indianapolis Colts as our 3 teams that we're selling on after week 3. Obviously, this is all very, very early to be doing any of this, but it's good fun. So interesting. Three games in, I guess. Still many games to go. Lots of matchups that are going to be interesting. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm really looking forward to it. Every season is a challenge, and if I don't make the playoffs this season, so be it. It'll be fun to kind of watch and see who the new risers are. And one of the cool things that one of the main reasons I'm not really bothered by how this season may go is that I've as you know, I really focused on locking up my team for the long term. So,
You can run it
does
back
it
quite easily.
does it go well? We'll run it back, bigger and stronger because just
Who
keep
knows?
going.
Even by next season, possibly we might be looking at seeing what the features are in the new version,
Yeah,
which would
no,
be
that would be
exciting.
knock on wood, that would be really exciting. That I hadn't watched one of those showcases before, so thanks. I want to say thank you to the guys who brought that to our knowledge, and I really I have really high hopes for where the sim games are going, man. They looking, I have a lot of experience on the other side of the CSL, and I think a lot of us can say that we were at the point where we just didn't even want to open that game anymore. We were kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
we were over it. So I'm enjoying these learning these new sim games.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been fun, and I've already gotten won my first league, and I think it's been like 10 or 15 years since I've won a league. So
Hmm.
it's been nice.
Yeah, well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the episode. It's been a long time coming, but I'm sure we'll be back with many more episodes through the season. And best of luck with the Titans with their horrible schedule this year.
Thank you, and best of luck to the Lions, who I think might be in that championship game again.
Who knows? Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. But many more games to go in the CSFL. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.